Hi, everybody. I finally introduced one of these things without sounding really goofy or anything like that. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about 9/11 10 years later, if I may. I remember that morning. That was the first year that I was working for myself, and it was only a couple of months in. And I woke up early that morning because I just couldn't sleep for whatever reason. And so I was up like maybe 7:15, and I tend to go to bed really late. So I was tired, but I was sitting here at the computer and I was writing. And I remember around 8:35 or so, I don't remember exact time, my mother called me. And she said, "You need to turn on the TV. A plane just hit one of the World Trade Center towers." Sounded really weird to me, so I turn on the TV and I'm looking at the TV and I see this plane hit the tower. I said, "Oh, they're showing a replay." And she says, "No, that's a second one. That's not the same as the first shot I saw." And in that instant, I knew that this was an act of terrorism and that something was going on and this was going to be a real terrible day. And of course it was. That was the beginning of 4 terrorist attacks on our country on the same day. I tend to concentrate like a lot of people do on the World Trade Center because I live in New York. I've been to the World Trade Center, a few times. I've been to the top, and, it was one of those kind of things when you see it and you're part of it and you just kind of, were amazed to be at the very top of the World Trade Center overlooking New York City. And the only gripe I ever had was every time I was at the top of the World Trade Center, it was a cloudy day, so I never could see the Statue of Liberty. So I never got to see that from the World Trade Center. I did eventually see the Statue of Liberty. But it was such a horrible day, and you were sitting there trying to get all kind of information, everything that you could. I just kept flipping stations. I started with CNN. Anytime there's big news, I always start with CNN. And then I started flipping channels. And it didn't matter what channel I went to, whether it was NBC, ABC. I even went to Fox. It was broken in on ESPN, and the whole lot of other channels were just breaking in with news stories. It was something really amazing on that day. And then, of course, we heard about the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, and there were a lot of heroes on that day. And the plane that hit the Pentagon. And, there were a few people who passed away in that one. And it's strange because you don't hear as much about that one these days, even though that was really serious stuff as well. And that was literally the day that the world changed. That was the day where the lines were really drawn between Muslims and everybody else. And the truth of the matter is that Muslims were killed in the World Trade Center disaster as well. But for a while, it didn't seem to matter to a whole lot of us because we knew that day where the attacks had come from. So what happened in that 10-year period? Well, we immediately went to war with Afghanistan, and then a few years later, we went to war with Iraq. Iraq never had anything to do with this, but we went to war with them anyway. Weapons of mass destruction. We never found anything. But I never had a problem with going to war with Afghanistan. In a way, I didn't have a problem going to war with Iraq because Saddam Hussein should have been taken out in 1991, in my opinion, but it really had nothing to do with this. But the world changed. Look at what happens now with trying to fly. Look what happens now trying to even take a train. You have to pretty much go through x-ray machines. You get all these pat downs. For a while there, we had people, military people in the airport guarding the gates and everything. We have it again this year because of this quote-unquote credible threat of terrorism to happen somewhere on 9/11 in either New York City or Washington, D.C. Why do you keep picking on New York City? What is the deal here? But we're not scared. We're not scared at all. But look at 10 years later. We know now that the government is actually tuning in to a lot of our phone calls. We know that they've got this software that will read blogs. We know they're doing terrorism. Not terrorism, but we know they're doing torture on different people. We know that. We don't like it, but we know it. One of the things that either Bush or Cheney, and these are two guys I really disrespect a lot, but one of them actually told the truth, as much as we hate to admit to it. We have not seen another act of terrorism on this country since 2001. It was most probably due to them basically torturing these guys and getting a lot of information. We have now taken out bin Laden. Thank you, President Obama, for that. We've taken out a whole lot of people. We haven't been able to get Mullah Omar yet from Afghanistan. Someone explained this one to me. This was like a big heavy guy. He should have been easier to find than bin Laden. But I guess the mountains of Afghanistan are really tough. So at least we can take this to note. If there's any aliens that attack Earth and they don't come with the intention of just blowing up Earth totally, there will be some people who will survive, because probably even aliens can't get into the mountains and get those people out of there if we can't get in there. So I know that's kind of silly, but that's just how that goes. But here we are, 10 years later. We're about to recognize this anniversary once again. And they're building something new in the World Trade Center area, and they will have a bunch of ceremonies around the country. And around the country, they will name the 3,000 people, 3,000 plus people who were killed. And I knew people who survived, believe it or not. I know a couple of people who survived. I know some people who were there and actually saw it. I am lucky once again that I did not know a single person who perished in the World Trade Center. I've known some people who've known some people, but I haven't known anybody. I don't know anybody who, was killed on that day. So, it sounds weird to say you were lucky that way, but things have changed. I've been in New York City, I actually spent 3 months there on an assignment. I've been in New York City, a few times after that. I've never gone to Ground Zero. I don't want to see it until they actually have something totally there. That's just how my mindset is. But I look at this as one of those days where it's just, you're kind of upset with it all. But I know right now that I think this 10 years, I don't feel the pain this year. And it sounds strange to say that, but it's 10 years. I didn't feel the pain this year on the anniversary of my dad passing. It's 9 years. Time really does heal at a certain point. You still recognize the day, and you still acknowledge the people who suffered on that day, and you acknowledge the people who stepped up and showed themselves as heroes on that day. But for me, I don't feel the pain this year, and I feel good about that. I don't know if any of you who might watch this video will feel any pain, but I don't feel any pain. I'm going to show the links of previous posts that I've written in blogs, which basically is either 4 or 5, I don't know exactly how many. But I'm going to link to those posts because that's what I do. I've obviously talked about this in previous years, and this year, I'm posting this little video here. I haven't decided if I'm going to add a second video on my other blog, but at least this video is for this blog. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I honor everybody who did what they did. My sympathies are with those people who lost somebody on that day. I give great props to those people who survived, those people who helped, and I hope nothing happens tomorrow. Because if it does, our government's going to have to go and do something else to somebody. And really, I think we're all kind of tired of that at this juncture. And that's all I have to say. So, here we go. Take care and have a great day.